So you can imagine how my neighbours would delight as every night or during the day my Dalek would wake up with a loud hairdryer sound and just generally look ugly in the front of the house and blow cold air all over the street and make a lot of noise. So quite the opposite, I think. It would have probably diminished my status as from my immediate neighbours' point of view. Hello and welcome to episode 12 of Future Marketing UK. Thanks so much for joining me. On the back of last week's episode with Katie Hart, I'm going to be talking about customer perspective for 2025. This is more of a general episode that this advice should apply for many years going forward, and it would have applied to many years going back. So in marketing, it's always a good idea to frame your marketing messages, your customer-facing content, in a way that they can most easily digest it. So, in other words, from their perspective. Okay, but we're going to dive a bit deeper into this. Now, as with all the other episodes, I'm kind of approaching this from the SWOT analysis point of view. Okay, the strength, weaknesses, which are internal to an organisation, opportunities and threats, which are external to an organisation, and customer perspective is much more of an opportunity than a threat. Again, if your competitors use it in a better way than you do, then you could risk losing sales to them. But generally speaking, it's an opportunity. It's never going to cost you much to reframe things into a customer perspective. Really, all we're talking about here is maybe the change of a few images, have some customer-facing text maybe changed or reviewed, and have a look at your processes and which sales channels you use to reach out to your target audience. So, yeah, we're going to be talking about customer perspective. One of the things that have remained consistent through all my marketing career is the advice is to always use benefits before features. Okay, now this is something you might already know. It's quite possibly something that you do automatically anyway. But when you're selling your product to your target audience, think of what are the benefits to them, not the features. Okay, so an example would be your microwave manufacturer. You've launched this fantastic new microwave, 1,800 watts. You're really pleased about it. You've overcome some technical challenges. Previous ones would burn the food. Your one doesn't. It uses clever technology. And you present this to the customer going 1,800, not just 900 or not 800 watts. Okay, great. You think, well, the customer's going to, your microwave is going to fly off the shelf, sorry. Now, you're just assuming that your customer recognizes that, twice the number is twice as powerful or cooks in half the time. But that may be missed by a very time-constrained customer who's literally, their eyes are flicking over your advert or flicking over your printed material somewhere, or if it's on the shelf in a store, you've literally got half a second to capture their interest, and that might not mean much. So the 1,800 watts is a feature. The benefit to the customer is it cooks food in half the time compared to a 900 watt microwave. Now you can put a little asterisk next to that. You can put the small print somewhere else. But in other words, your benefit is cooks food in half the time. Now, as a busy, time-constrained customer that you have, cooking something half the time is actually quite a benefit. Okay. It may reduce the cooking time from 5 minutes to 2.5 minutes, but that's still saving somebody's time to sort of loiter around the microwave or at least stay in the same room. So consider the benefits rather than the features. You can still talk about the features, but don't have that as the leading message in any communication. Focus on the benefits, okay? Also, when you're talking about customer's perspective, make sure that you're using language that they would use. Okay. Now, if you're a scientific company making scientific equipment, and you're selling to a scientific end customer, that's fine. Chances are you are already speaking the same language as your customers. But if you're selling, say, for example, and take an extreme example, you're selling toys. Okay. Now, the odds are you're an adult, looking after a manufacturing plant or whatever. You're making manufacturing toys. It's not going to be straightforward for you to put the sales pitch into the words that a 4-year-old might use. Okay, it's not the easiest thing to do. And yes, you've probably got experts and you've probably got focus groups and everything to help you. But this is just an example where if you were to sell toys using adult speak, you're not necessarily going to capture the attention of a 4-year-old. Okay, and obviously images are important, but the words you do use, which should be very limited, in particularly for a 4-year-old, is you're obviously selling to the 4-year-old, but you're selling to the parent who's going to buy it for the 4-year-old. So yeah, it's really important to always think about the customer's perspective. In this case, you're selling primarily to the 4-year-old who's going to pick up in their little hands and waving in front of mummy and says, I want this. And then, it's got to be something that the mother or father is then able to sort of, yes, this is suitable for this child. Yes, he really wants it, or she really wants it. And then she goes and buys it. So that's an example where the customer's perspective is different to your perspective naturally. And if you get stuck on this, there's many examples where your perspective could be different to others. I mean, you could be a very rich, successful entrepreneur, but you're selling services or products to a lower class clientele. You may not necessarily speak their language or put things in the best context. So if you get really stuck, you can use AI tools to, you can ask AI, I'm selling to this particular audience, categorize it or describe it as best you can, and then you can put in the text that you want to say, and then say to AI, can you readjust this so it matches the language and tonality used by my target audience, and see what comes up. Okay, you might still be able to tweak it afterwards, but you're going to get some idea how way off the mark are you. Always try to speak in your customer's language, tonality, phrase, and everything else. With the sales channels, obviously we're used to email, telephone, website, but increasingly companies have been offering now WhatsApp channels and other channels, and this is interesting because actually what it's showing is that some companies are kind of keeping up with the times, in that certain cohorts of your target audience would prefer to communicate in different ways. Not everyone likes email. I'm not saying very few people seem to like telephone. So consider, based on your target audience, what sales channels should you be using or should you be introducing. I'm not saying for a minute get rid of any, but think about which ones you could add. If you get stuck, ask AI, describe your target audience, and sort of ask AI what sales channels would you suggest this cohort would like to see added, or what would they use, what would they be most receptive in. Because again, if you're selling to somebody who uses WhatsApp every day, then that could be the way forward to getting their attention and getting a sale over the line. Then from a customer's perspective, often when we're selling products or services, we are, whether we sort of realise it or not, we're trying to solve a problem for the customer. Okay, whether it's a service or a product, they've got a problem. They've got a blocked drain, they need something to fix it. They've got wavy hair and they need something to fix it. So, and services like my boiler's broken down, I need the service to fix it. So a lot of the things that we sell and make are inherently helping people to fix problems or to prevent problems from occurring. Okay, and from the perspective of your marketing messages, you should be very conscious about what is the ultimate issue that they're trying to find. So I've got a good one here that I came up with earlier, and a lot of companies they offer guaranteed next day delivery. Okay, guaranteed, not maybe, not a 50% chance, but guaranteed next day delivery. Okay, you obviously pay more for it. But what does that mean to the customer? Okay, why is it so important to them to get something guaranteed the next day? Well, say for example, if you and a competitor say exactly the same thing, but you guarantee next day delivery and they don't, but they say that it's most likely to get there the next day. from a segment of your customer base, you're going to have people that are thinking, I'm buying a present for my spouse and I've left it really late. Her birthday is the day after tomorrow. And I'm going to buy from this company because it says guaranteed next day delivery. Okay, so what does that mean? If it doesn't get there, or if you don't offer that, what does that mean to them? Are they just unhappy that it doesn't get there? Well, kind of. But if the present for their spouse doesn't get there, then it's not just the lack of a product, it's the fact they lose all their spouse points, they have an unhappy spouse, they have an unhappy spouse that reminds them of this fact every year for the rest of your life. So these things mean different things to different people. So again, when you're talking about guaranteed next day delivery, that's really that's a feature again. Okay, that's not the benefit. The benefit is that you have a happy and long-lasting marriage. in an extreme example, so always be sort of focused on what is the problem that you're solving from them. Okay, and use that. Touch upon that subject in your marketing material, on your website, on anything printed or written down anywhere else, on your social media channels. Try to sort of get across what is the ultimate problem that your service or product will fix. When you're talking about customer perspectives, their perspectives will change in a subtle way. Obviously, as they grow up and age, so as people age, their outlooks and perspectives changes fairly predictably. But also, people's perspectives change about what is going on around them. Okay, so I can think of a number of issues. So, for example, take because I think it's called Campi Figuri. It's an area just near Naples, okay, in Italy. And right now, this whole town is going up about 3 centimeters a day at the moment. It's got this huge super volcano underneath. Okay, it's going to erupt at some point, but no one really knows when. Now, if you were selling to that target audience, people who lived in that town, their perspective is going to be very much focused on impending disaster, or very much they're hoping that there is no impending disaster. So their perspective is focused on something else. That is not that no one else outside the area would be at all focused on. So you could, if you were selling services, you could say that if something was damaged as a result of a volcanic explosion, then they get their money back or something like that, or indeed that might not be affordable for you. But there's again, you could couch your advertising copy to address those concerns, or somehow emphasize with them, no matter how high your house goes in centimeters per day, we can still deliver to your door, or all sorts of things. And maybe that's a poor example. Another example would be if you're selling to people, obviously in the UK, and your product or service somehow helps with the cost of living issue, somehow subtly, long term, short term, then you could address your key audience in the sense that it's helping with cost of living. Cost of living is a massive issue still for many people, and although it's sort of faded away from the media spotlight, it is still a daily battle that most people have. And so if your product or service can sort of help them deal with that in some way, maybe not initially cheaper, but long-term cheaper or something like that, then that's a very strong customer's perspective that wouldn't have really existed, 5 years ago. It's these perspectives can change. So we touched upon the role of AI, but you can use AI for all these things that I've mentioned. So you could ask AI how it thinks your customer's perspective has changed. So if you sort of try to describe your customer cohort as best you can on AI, then ask AI, how do you think their perspectives have changed? What's gone up in their list of importances? What's gone down? Okay, and again, you can frame your marketing messages so it really resonates with them. there are factors that you always have to consider when selling a service or product to them. Now, these are like personal things. Okay, again, from the customer's perspective, does it help them financially? Does it make them money, save them money? Does it sort of boost their status, or does it lower their status as their status has been seen by their neighbours, by their friends, their work colleagues? Is your product or service inherently tapping into everyone's innate laziness? Okay, what we call convenience, but people are lazy. So does it tally with that? Do they have to lift a finger to get your product or to use it? Does it play into their natural instinct to be lazy? Is it easy to use? Is it maintenance free? So again, these things haven't changed, and they probably never will change. But again, trying to focus it. If your product or service has this innate sort of inherent feature about it, which means it's maintenance free, then don't just assume they know that. Keep talking about that. Okay, there's products you can buy that actually are maintenance free. There's loads of them, but very few actually mention it. And sometimes it's because it's a given. But other times it's not a given. And again, if you're not sure, you can always ask AI for it to gauge whether your product, say the maintenance-free aspect of your product is a given. Does you could phrase it like that. I sell, red grommets to this type of customer. Is the fact it's maintenance-free, would that be widely recognised or not? And the AI might have some insight into that. Does your service or product give something value added in addition to its main function? Okay, so I'm going to take a heat pump. This is a personal story. So my boiler broke down too many times this winter, and I've opted to go for a new boiler. Okay, now I agonised for weeks over whether to get a new heat pump or a new boiler. Okay, this is something that many households are going to have to wrestle with. And there's no right or wrong answer. It's just, for me personally, a new boiler was the answer. And of the many things, and I'll touch upon these different factors as an idea of what my perception was. Okay, now, say for example, the heat pump was actually more expensive, but it wasn't a lot more expensive. It was about £4,000, whilst the new boiler was 3,300. So not an awful lot in it. That alone wouldn't have stopped me from going for a heat pump if it subsequently saved me money in the long term. But it really didn't. When you look at the maths, it couldn't really, not under the current prices of electricity and gas. It'd never work out cheaper. So that was a bit of a cross on the financial side. And then there's the status. I thought, well, if I have a heat pump, I'm going to be, wow. Well, my neighbours are going to look at me and go, well, he's an early adopter. He's going the right direction. He's saving the planet. But then, my particular heat pump had a massive outdoor unit that my spouse referred to as the Dalek. And the Dalek, when it was running, made a 62 decibel din, which is about the same loudness as a hairdryer. Okay, a noisy hairdryer. And it was always going to be based at the front of the house. So you can imagine how my neighbours would delight as every night or during the day my Dalek would wake up with a loud hairdryer sound and just generally look ugly in the front of the house and blow cold air all over the street and make a lot of noise. So quite the opposite, I think. It would have probably diminished my status as from my neighbours, my immediate neighbours' point of view. And then convenience, it wasn't really convenient in any way. In fact, it would stop me from getting to my bins. I'd have to move my bins somewhere else where they would be on show. So convenience-wise, big cross. And then value added, there wasn't really any value added. It was more expensive to buy at the start, more expensive to run. And the service, the sort of the warranty and services were terrible compared to the gas boiler. So all in all, the argument obviously favoured the gas boiler, but I agonised over this because deep down I wanted to do the right thing, but it still seems like the wrong thing is still the best thing, if that makes sense to anyone. Right, so I think we've covered most things of customer perspective. Let me know in the comments if I've missed something out. There's obviously an infinite array of what customer perspective is, okay? If you took it granular, down to each individual, every individual is going to have a slightly different perspective, but you can segment up your customer audience into the segments that make sense for your business. But yeah, it's very important. Now, what I'm going to say is, I'm close to finishing now, but try to think of 3 things that you will now review as a result of this episode. Try to think of 3 things that you're going to look at. So, with your revised look of your customer base in your head, try to think about is the copy on your website or your social media profile page, is that really the right phraseology for your customer? If in doubt, just copy and paste it into AI, describe to your AI your target audience, and get it to sort of analyze it and see if it can improve it at all. Okay. In terms of the sales channel using, are you really using the right sales channels? Are you forcing people to use email when actually they're much more comfortable to use WhatsApp or other social media channels? Have a think about that. Again, if you're not sure, ask AI. And in terms of your any kind of promotional activities, Google Ads or flyers through your door, are you doing it from your customer's perspective? Okay, block gutters. Let's take block gutters. So you're somebody who cleans blocked gutters. Okay, you put leaflets through your house and we clean block gutters. Okay, now that's just a description of what you do, but what's the benefit? What's the benefit to the customer if you don't have blocked gutters? Well, blocked gutters, you have water cascading down from them if it rains. Okay, so it's not going down the pipe, it's just pouring out of the gutter. Secondly, the extra weight on the gutter could possibly cause the gutter to collapse. And if you've got wooden soffits and wooden soffits or fascias, then obviously a leaking gutter can cause those to rot quicker. So again, and there's probably more that I can't remember, but again, does your leaflet address this? Is it saying that actually it's going to save you money if you clean your gutters out? You're going to keep your barge and soffits lasting longer. No unsightly mess falling down onto the ground below, or stops you getting wet when you come out the door. So is your marketing messages, is your leaflet you're posting through people's doors, is it really resonating with what the actual end problem is? Now, what's the problem that the customer wants to solve? They might not even be aware that they've got blocked gutters, or you could be posting it through every house, in which case they might not have blocked gutters at all. So and you could save money by just posting it through doors which obviously have blocked gutters. They go around on a rainy day, go to the houses that there's a cascade of water coming off the roof, put leaflets to just their doors. There's all sorts of things to do. But in terms of customer perspective, what's the benefits? What's the pain? What's the pain for them? How is your service or product going to help with that pain? So yeah, have a review, have a think. Obviously, put in the comments if anything I've said today has resonated with you. If you need any help, AI is a great tool, but if you want to just talk to a human being, then obviously contact me, and I can sort of walk you through the customer perspective in your particular field. But bearing in mind that unless I am genuinely your customer, then I'm going to be doing what everyone does, which is trying to put their shoes in your customer. Again, AI might be slightly better at that than say me. But if you are looking for just general advice, then obviously contact me. If you don't have time to implement the suggestions and actions that you feel that I've touched upon, then obviously I can help you with that. So that concludes this episode. Thanks very much for watching. I'm sad to say there's no more episodes for the foreseeable future. I'm going to take a pause from these YouTube episodes. I will be reincarnating my podcast series. So if you want to hear my dulcet tones, then you can find me in any kind of podcast app like Spotify. If you just search for My Marketing Depth, you'll find me on there. But I'm going to pause the YouTube episodes. I might do sporadic ones, but in essence, I might just sort of keep them to just spread it once in the future, or I might do like 12 episodes at the start of each year to cover new things, new things that I've come across or thought about. That is all to do with future marketing and really keeping you aware of future happenings and what's gonna come along and affect your business. Okay. So thanks so much for listening. If you listen to all 12 episodes, and give yourself a big pat on the back. If you've missed any episodes, then obviously I urge you to go and watch them. If this is the first episode that you've seen, then I'd just going back to the episode 1 and watching from there. You'll be amazed. I'll give you some insights that you won't hear from anywhere else. And all these things will happen. Now, I might have the timing wrong. It may be that some things don't happen this year, but without doubt, all these things will happen. And sooner than you think. So, as I say, watch these episodes, be prepared, and good luck in your business endeavours. And give me feedback whenever you can. All right, thanks so much for listening. Goodbye.